Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. I heard Charles Barkley is looking for me. Oh, please do, sir. Today we are talking about TDS and everybody that has it. You guys know what that is. It's Trump derangement syndrome. Joe Rogan brings it up on one of his latest podcasts. So we're going to be touching on that clip. Joe Rogan first off. Then we're going to be talking about a Holocaust survivor that just has a ridiculous story. And usually, you hear me say that it's going to be something like, a tearjerker of sorts, but no, it's just a prime example of TDS. Then we got Robert De Niro, scared for all of us, scared for us, of course, what's going to happen if Trump wins. So Robert De Niro chimes in. Charles Barkley lets everybody know about his TDS as well in a late segment, the latest segment of CNN. Why is Charles Barkley on CNN? But anyway, Van Jones also showing his in one of these clips that I got for you. And then the guy from the Young Turks, I don't know how to say his name, Czech, he's talking about Trump taking away all of our freedoms, because that's what Trump's going to do if he actually gets into office, because that's what he did last time, right? Oh, okay. Anyway, then we have who Joe Rogan actually touches on quite a bit in this clip, Keith Olbermann. We had an article from him, or not from him, about him. And then we have some examples of his TDS, because there's so many. And then, would you believe it, someone who hates Trump looks at Keith and goes, oh, this guy's out of line. That much. So we're going to be showing you that clip. And then we have some black voters talking about who they're going to be voting for. Can you guess who? I bet you can't. Anyways, guys, don't forget about IamCoachColin.com. We got We the People shirts. We got anti-mainstream stuff. We got Public Enemy #1. Stop worshiping celebrities. The new Cancel Hollywood. Soul Not For Sale. Different versions. Get yours now. Discount code is I Am Coach Colin. All capital letters, all one word. One L in the name, Colin. Let's get started.
9-0 in Trump's favor, of course. And he commented back to someone on social media. It was like someone was basically like, dude, cope. Cry harder. Your liberal tears taste awesome. And he said, these aren't tears, you fascist. It's pee or urine. And I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? You're crying urine? I'm so confused.
It's crazy to say that's fascist too.
But I saw this clip on your show where you were highlighting, how he came for me. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, who are you? I don't even know who you are.
Anything.
And I'm that's hilarious, right? I very proudly finished my career as a 12-time All-American, 5-time SEC champion, the SEC record holder, the fastest person to ever come out of the SEC in the 200 butterfly, making me one of the fastest Americans of all time, SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, SEC Community Service Leader of the Year. I could keep going on. And it's like, this senile old man wants to attack me. He still lives with his mom in her basement. I had to ask my dad, I'm like, who is this guy? I don't even know who he is.
I think he has his own place, but he's definitely insane. Yeah, no. He's insane, but he's insane in a very unique way. He used to be a really good baseball broadcaster. It was
my dad
real baseball,
loved him.
But then he got really nutty during the Trump administration, and that Trump derangement syndrome, that's a real thing. It's a real thing, and I think there's some people that are fragile already. The world is just like the anxiety and this and that,
right.
And also this position of being the person of virtue, the angry, loud voice of reason. That's a weird banner to carry when you don't have your own shit together. When your own life is chaos. Your fucking mental health is very unsteady, and you're out there preaching and telling people what to do. And as you start losing, and Trump's the president now, and you're like, he's gonna get arrested, and he never gets arrested.
Right.
And then they're gonna take him off the ballot, he's an insurrectionist. Nope, Supreme Court says unanimously.
Right.
No. It's like it further compounds, and you never get a win. You get a win. You get a little bit of a win when Biden won, and then the chaos after the Biden administration and all the things that we knew were true, that he was mentally compromised, all those things coming out, and that's not a win. So then you're just in this constant state of like anxiety and chaos and saying nonsense things, like almost like he wants you to come after him, because you came after him so hard. It was so funny when you showed like all your medals and all your shit. Like, the fuck are you talking about, stupid?
And my motto is like, truly, like, and I feel like I, for the most part, pretty much live by this, like, don't punch down. Like, don't give someone attention when that's clearly what they're vying for is attention. But I literally could not resist myself when it came to him. And it was so tragic, because I'm showing him like all the accolades and stuff. And as I picked one of them up, it's a glass trophy. I drop it and I broke it. But let me tell you, it was so cool because the SEC saw this video that I'd made and dropping one of my like all SEC first team honors, and they sent me a new one, and they're like, we're so sorry that you had to waste your time and break a trophy over Keith Olbermann. We wanted to send you a new one.
Well, good for them.
Totally.
Good for them. That's funny, though. Even the way you handled it when you dropped it.
I'm like, whatever. I've got more of them. Who cares, Keith Olbermann? I don't care about this trophy. I don't even want this trophy.
The people like him are really fascinating because the social media interaction, it compounds mental illness in a way that I have never seen in my life with anything. There's nothing like it. It is a zombie apocalypse. It's weird. There's so many people that are just like deeply involved in social media interaction all day long.
And look, social media, of course, is a blessing. I would argue it's a bigger curse than it is a blessing. And you're right. We see people like on my X feed who are on there posting all day long. I'm like, what do you do? Do you have a family?
Yeah.
Do you have a life? Like, do you work? Like, I'm so confused how you have time all day long, every hour of every day to be posting something.
That's their life.
It is their life.
There's a lot of people like that is their life. And they sort of accumulate these bubbles of people that they communicate with. And
right.
They stay in these echo chambers and they exist there forever. And they don't go outside. And they wonder why they're depressed.
That's so true.
It is what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Human bodies, I firmly believe, have a physical requirement. And if you don't meet that physical requirement,
you've got to get enough sleep.
Yep.
You've got to drink enough water.
All that.
You've got to exercise.
You have to.
And you're right, the people
feel like shit.
Aren't doing these things.
Right.
Yeah.
They're on Twitter all day. It's compounding their mental illness. They're probably already medicated.
Definitely.
And then here they are just getting after it with strangers, getting, fuck you, you're Hitler, you fucking Nazi. It's so wild to see. And it's all getting accentuated by algorithms, specifically to try to extend your engagement and keep you hooked. And then when you see something like TikTok that will not let opposing viewpoints, even viewpoints that are
even if you question.
Yeah.
The narrative.
But meanwhile, if you go to China, their TikTok's all about scientific achievements, athletic achievements, martial arts. It's all about positive role models, exercise routines. It's all like super. And you can't be on after 10 p.m. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Crazy.
Get ready for war.
Yeah. No, they're laughing at us.
100%. I'm laughing at us. How are they not laughing at us?
Totally.
When I see Rachel Levine stand in front of everybody and give advice on health, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's so
Listen, I just want to let you guys know I'm about to show you a clip of Riley Gaines and what they were talking about in terms of those trophies. But I also want to say that I have a Trump playlist. Just so you guys know, you can go to the channel. I noticed that when I search for Trump, I can't find anything positive, and I can't even find my own video. So I made a playlist. Go check it out. It's just labeled Trump. It is all the Trump videos that I've made, all positive Trump stuff. If you want to check it out, go ahead and check it out because it's not being pushed. Don't know why. Maybe it's my fault. I don't know. But let's get into what Riley Gaines was talking about when she had to confront Keith Olbermann. Olbermann, I believe his name is. I just call him the wacko. He's absolutely wild. I remember I made a video about him. And somebody said, I think it was Tim Dillon or Tony Hinchcliffe. He's like, why does Keith look like Rosie O'Donnell? And then I had a comparison side by side. I was like showing them back and forth. I was like, wow, he really did. It's something that happens when you're very on the left. Or maybe it is TDS that actually gets to you. Something happens to your hair where it gets cut off all at the sides and it stays long at the top. You get these very thick glasses. Sometimes if it gets real bad, your hair turns blue. I don't get it. Let's get into this Riley Gaines video, though. This is her flossing all these trophies.
All right, Keith, as I was getting my All-SEC first team honors down to show you, I dropped it. And I broke it, which would be really unfortunate if I didn't have more of those. But lucky for me, I do. So let's go through it. SEC title, second in the country. This is my SEC Community Service Leader of the Year award, which actually got me a lot of money. Oh, another SEC title, an NCAA trophy. Oh, look, SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year. Believe it or not, I'm pretty smart. Another SEC title, another NCAA trophy. Oh, that's when we won an SEC championship as a team. Some more SEC honors. Oh, look, another one. That's when I broke the 200 butterfly record, the SEC record, which I still hold, making me one of the fastest Americans of all time. And so, Keith, I would be really sad if I broke this trying to prove a point to an old man who can't even seem to keep a job, but I've got more of these.
So that's what she was talking about, because Keith came after her and said that she sucks at swimming, which is just clearly not true. I mean, she had to combat Leah Thomas. Leah Thomas is physically inclined, let's say. Let's be kind and frame it as that. Leah Thomas is physically inclined. So the fact that she, Riley Gaines, actually tied with Leah Thomas is actually quite a feat. You don't expect to see that in swimming, especially since Leah Thomas is about 6'1.5", and Riley Gaines is, I believe, 5'4" or 5'5". So the fact that they tied is actually pretty surprising. Now, let's get into one of the wildest versions of TDS that I've heard of in a very long time, and it's kind of sad. Let's play this one.
Document this in just a moment, but it's even worse.
Way too fast, as always. My apologies. Let me slow this down for all of you.
Worse than cancer. I'll document that. Trump derangement syndrome has people believing that Donald Trump is Hitler. Just a few minutes ago on this program, you had several people who thought he was Hitler.
Right.
You have intellectuals with Trump derangement syndrome writing in important newspapers and other publications that Donald Trump will jeopardize American democracy and actually jeopardize American civilization. On college campuses, you had snowflakes with Trump derangement syndrome who, after he won, held a cry-in at one university, and they had therapeutic puppies to get over their trauma at other universities. And here's where the cancer comes in. There was a letter published in the Miami Herald, a letter to the editor, by a woman whose 90-year-old mother, whose name was Ruth, is a Holocaust survivor and is currently battling cancer. I'm going to read you a very, very short segment. She says, today in her beloved America, Ruth sees the same warning signs she saw in Nazi Germany. Anti-Semitism, criticism of the free press, curtailed freedom of expression, religious slurs, overt racism, and talk of punishing people for who they are and not what they believe. Okay? The thought of a president who foments and legitimizes these dangerous trends is more terrifying to her than the cancer she is battling. So, to people with Trump derangement syndrome, Donald Trump is more terrifying than cancer.
That's just sad. That's just sad. Because here's the thing. You know what? When you see Robert De Niro do it, I'm like bought and paid for. Also, he's a part of this whole, I don't know what else to call it other than like Hollywood cabal of nastiness, of, arm of certain agencies willing to spread propaganda within movies and interviews at any cost. But when you hear a woman like that saying something like that, you got to really think about what Trump derangement syndrome is when it comes to the public, and it's the media's depiction of him. So it's really sad to hear somebody like that, because here's the thing. That woman who is a Holocaust survivor, she more than likely didn't write that. But her, either, what was it, her daughter or granddaughter decided, you know what? I bet you this is what happened, because when you're on your deathbed, you're probably not thinking about Trump. I would hope not. I would hope you're thinking about your family and relatives and God and like all of that. But more than likely, she had a relative, younger relative, who decided, I'm going to write this out to make a statement. Just sad. When it gets to that point, when it gets to the public, you start to see it's the media's depiction that brings around this syndrome, that gives people these talking points that they just rattle off. Me and my friend were actually having a conversation today, and we were talking, and he was talking about how him and my brother, they were at their Muay Thai gym, and they were some of the only two that were very supportive of Trump, and everybody else was black and just mostly black, but a mix. But a lot of people had these talking points of like, that guy's racist. That Trump guy's racist. And, my brother and mostly my brother, he had these talking points of like, do you know what the other guy did? And he's talking about Biden. He's like, do you think that's racist? Don't you think that's more racist? Don't you think that's more racist? Because when you actually ask them, they don't really have things to bring up. It's the talking points that are drilled into their head. And it does develop into a syndrome. Now, let's move on. Robert De Niro, okay? This is very serious now. Robert De Niro has something to say about Trump.
The bottom line is, it's Biden versus Trump. We want to live in a world that we want to live in and enjoy living in, or live in a nightmare. Vote for Trump, and you'll get the nightmare. Vote for Biden, and we'll be back to normalcy.
Yeah. So why is Trump winning? I mean, the New York Times poll this week came out, and maybe this will change it with the State of the Union address, but Trump was beating him rather soundly. It was quite a warning light, 48 to 43, also winning way more among women than he had before, winning outright Latinos. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I just don't want to feel the way I did, and many of us don't, after the election in 2016, where we couldn't believe that it happened. The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor, because I can't see any good in him. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him. And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and there look like intelligent people around there. Somebody, for some reason, it can't be. It cannot be. If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. Let's believe him. Take him at his word.
I did from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I said from the very beginning, this guy is never going to concede power, and he still hasn't.
No.
He still hasn't admitted he lost the last election, and he advertises that he will go on. He says he's been cheated out of one term, so maybe we should get rid of a president only gets 2 terms thing. So
he's a sociopathic, psychopathic, malignant narcissist. He is a dangerous person. And we have to people realize, a lot of people, this audience, but the people who somehow think he's going to be the answer to their prayers, whatever those are.
Did you know
God
him
knows.
As fellow New Yorkers?
Never wanted to know him.
Never wanted to?
No.
You must have
He
crossed...
was an idiot. He was a clown. He was a clown in New York. And New Yorkers say, some would go with him, of course, people who work in what he does, some of them. But it's just, he's a classic bully. If you had a schoolyard and he walked in and he had his bully friends around, the other people decide whether they want to oppose him or they want to let him just tell him what to do and own the schoolyard or the basketball court or whatever it is. He's got to be stopped.
He's got to be stopped, ladies and gentlemen. He has to be stopped. I love this whole thing. I'm just going to go from top to bottom, just right from the beginning. Go back to normalcy. Look at how everything's been. Is this the normalcy that he's talking about? With the border and inflation and all these problems. This is the normalcy. He's like, let's get back to normalcy. Biden's been president. What do you mean get back to normalcy? You know what I mean? It's always, for some reason, he's always the problem. Like as if all these problems that exist under Biden's presidency are somehow Trump's fault. It makes no sense whatsoever. And here's another thing to always remember. Millionaires don't know what normalcy is. Robert De Niro has been rich since the 90s. Okay? He's been rich since Goodfellas. He doesn't know what normalcy is. He was in Goodfellas. He doesn't know what normalcy is at all. He knows Ben Stiller. He doesn't know what normalcy is. These people that he's talking about, he's not talking about, well, the guy that I get my paper from on Wednesday when I'm walking down the street. Those aren't the people he's talking. He's talking about like Bette Midler and Barbara Streisand and Orlando Bloom. Those are the people who are like, oh yeah, we're all very... He's talking about other millionaires. He's talking about Hollywood starlets. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then when he gets to the point of saying that Trump supporters, they get behind this logic. Oh, is that bad? Is it bad? It seems like it was bad because throughout the whole clip, he just goes on to say, I'd never play him as an actor. It can't be. He'll He'll be off the show. Bill Maher will be off of his show. These are all things that don't even make sense. He'd never play him as an actor. Okay, cool. You would. Let me tell you something. You're a Hollywood person. If they said $100 million to play Trump, you'd do it in a heartbeat. And you'd ask Donald Trump if you could sit down with him so you can learn his mannerisms. Get the hell out of here, for sure. And then he says it can't be. No explanation as to why whatsoever. And then he says that Trump will be looking for him and Bill Maher will be off his show. Again, see, this is the thing that they do. This is where that TDS comes in. He's already been president. De Niro has had nothing but horrible things to say about Trump throughout his entire presidency, Trump's presidency, and now throughout Biden's presidency. Wouldn't he have taken him out as soon as he got elected? He did nothing to De Niro. He had nothing to say to De Niro. And Bill Maher has had his show for 30 years? He's had some kind of show for like 30 years now? Nothing's happened to him. So what is he talking about? He's going to come and take you off your show. That's what's going to happen. What signs are there of any of that? That's the thing. They just kind of make things up. And then Bill Maher saying that he's never conceded power. I don't know what else people need to see. I'm going to move on to the next clip right now. I don't know what else people need to see. But if the guy is running for president, he has conceded power. If he's because here's the thing. If I'm not conceding power, this is what I'm doing. So, Coach Colin, are you running for president again? Well, no, I'm not. Because I'm still president. And if anybody tries to take me out of the White House, I have these soldiers assembled, and we're going to have a problem. I'm still president. That's what someone who's not conceding power does. They don't leave the White House and the job goes to someone else and someone else works the job, but then they still haven't conceded power. That's not what's going on. You don't go through the process of running for president again if you're not conceding power. You're just going to be like, you know what? You can run for president if you want. I'm still president. How about that? That's what would have to happen. So the guy's conceded power. I don't know why everybody has that issue. And then other than that, just showing Robert De Niro just saying he has no idea why people are voting for Trump. That's another thing that people with TDS and people on the left never take the time to figure out. Why do people like Trump? They just always liken it to hate and racism, xenophobia, transphobia, any type of phobia they can throw on it. When it's black people, they're just a black face of white supremacy. They're ignorant. They don't know any better. They're being tricked. It's nonsense. They never actually learn because they don't want to. Let's move on to the next thing. Charles Barkley doubles down on his take about black people wearing Trump merch, calls them freaking idiots. Charles Barkley, man. Why is Charles Barkley on CNN? Can someone please tell me? This to me shows me that CNN is probably not going to exist in 5 years. If they've turned to Charles Barkley and Gayle King to do a show together, oh my God, this is ridiculous. You know what? I'm calling it. If this is how it's going down, in 10 years, I'm going to be the CEO of CNN. That's it. I think I should be. I know how to turn the brand around because this is nonsense. This is not how you do it. Anyways, let's get into Charles Barkley talking a whole bunch of nonsense. I can't wait for you guys to hear this incredible logic he has.
For some comments you made on our last show. Do you remember, dear, what you said?
I do remember what I said.
Okay, we'll roll tape.
If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugs, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Charles.
No, Gayle.
Charles.
Gayle.
You really can't say that because A, you don't mean that.
Oh, I mean that sincerely.
But if you see somebody, a black person with a Donald Trump,
I'm gonna punch him right in the eye.
Punch him in the face.
Gayle, I promise you.
I would bail you out. You're
not gonna be my first call.
No, it's so funny because before I took this show, before we agreed, because Charles and I, we have to say this, neither one of us were looking for another job. And CNN called and they had this great idea, you and I together, which I thought was really fun. And people said, aren't you worried about things Charles would say? And I said to you, you're a grown-ass man. You say exactly what you think, and you take responsibility for everything you say.
Yes.
And so it's not like you just willy-nilly say stuff for clickbait, right?
I always know the response. And I always know how much gasoline I'm putting on the fire.
Okay.
Of course.
So in that vein, that clip that you all just saw has been seen millions of times, and there have been quite a few articles written about it. And that's before we even get to the social media comments, which look a lot like this gentleman. He's very large. He's wearing a mugshot of the T-shirt, or photoshops of large men wearing the T-shirt that say, "I hear Charles Barkley's looking for me." They all think that you are ready to run around punching people who vote for Donald Trump. Now, I know when you say that, that was just you making a point. That's not something you would literally do, going around attacking people, right?
Well, let me say, is this my camera right there? I want to make sure people can hear me.
Yeah.
Number one, obviously, I'm not gonna go around punching random strangers in the face, first and foremost. Secondly, people can vote for who they want to.
Yes.
People can vote for who they want to. The point I was trying to make.
There you go.
No, the point I was making. I wasn't trying to make it.
Okay.
When Donald Trump compares his plight with that of the black person, that is what I had a problem with. Now, I do want to say this. I want to make it perfectly clear. If you're a black person and you're wearing a Donald Trump mugshot, you are a freaking idiot. And I'm only saying freaking idiot because they won't let me say what I really want to say. But you can figure it out. It starts with an F. But you are. Listen, people can vote for who they want to.
Yes.
But for him to compare his plight with that other African, I don't even like that term, the black people in America is asinine and stupid. And like I said, you guys can put on those too small T-shirts like y'all got them on. Get a big size if you're going to wear it. Don't put on a medium and act like you got muscles. But that is so, that bothered me.
That irritates
it bothered me because for him to compare a white billionaire who is in trouble because of stuff he did.
Yes.
Not because of stuff, like black people get in trouble stuff that happened
That they did not
didn't deserve to do.
Yes.
But for him to compare that to black people's plight, that's just stupid on their part. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all got Nielsen boxes. If y'all gonna wear those tight T-shirts around the house and somebody take pictures.
I wear them everywhere, buddy, okay? I wear them everywhere. Trust me on that, okay? Wear it to the bank, okay? But just to see the logic in this whole thing, this is the first statement, I'm going to punch a black person in the face if I see them wearing a Donald Trump shirt. Now, we go to this video because Donald Trump compared his plight to what black people go through. I am going to hurt black people. These are just threats. He said he's not going to do it, but still, you issue the threat to black people because of what Donald Trump said, comparing himself to black people. And then you find out that there are black people who support him. Do you see the logic there? I don't like Donald Trump so much that I am going to threaten whoever decides to be on his side. I'm going to threaten them with violence. I'm going to insult them personally. Because as far as I'm concerned, I hate Donald Trump so much that you become Donald Trump if I see you. Because I can't do anything to him, but I could do something to you. And I can't actually come and punch you, but I can put it out there that people like you deserve to be punched. I can put it out there that people like you are idiots. You see you see what they do there? Very, very interesting. So it's like I love that I was able to just break this down quickly. I found this video because it's so nonsensical. Charles Barkley, why is he on CNN? What is going on with CNN, man? I'm telling you, they have like 6 more months in their bank account. They must. This is crazy. Absolutely nonsense. But that logic, you see, watch for that because that's what you see. That's why it's black people are idiots and rural white people are just filled with hatred and they're using Trump to fuel their hatred. They're using Trump as a conduit for their hate. It's absolutely crazy. You see it. They just keep doing that. Anything that comes near Trump, and this is actually something from Saul Alinsky, to make the person, Trump in this case, radioactive. How do you do that? Well, we're trying to make him radioactive and it's not quite working. But if you decide to touch him, we are going to brand you just like you're him. We are going to make you radioactive. We're going to make you somebody who feels shame for what you're doing. It's very, very interesting what they do. I'm telling you, when you learn about Saul Alinsky, when you learn about that book, Rules for Radicals, I've brought it up 3 consecutive episodes now. When you learn about that book and what's in that book, I'm telling you, what you see in politics will infuriate you, because it's a game they're playing. And it's not a game. It's not just identity politics. It's a play for power, and they're playing on your senses and your emotions. And this is actually a perfect case of that. Van Jones, been in the media for at least, 20 years, 15 years? Can't hold back his tears. Not today, because this is a video from when Biden won the election. Someone who's media trained couldn't hold back their tears. Schnot bubbles, if you will. Let's go.
Well, it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Tell them the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. It's a vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered. The I can't breathe. That wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know, and you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their racism are getting nastier and nastier to you, and you're worried about your kids and you're worried about your sister. And can she just go to Walmart and get back into her car without somebody saying something to her?
All right. There's like 30 more seconds. I can't. This is just ridiculous. But here's the thing with this. This is another case of the TDS, because this is, in my mind, this is fake. You're media trained. You know how to hold back tears. You know how to be upset, and then the camera turns on and you go, okay, let's get into it. You know how to do that. I know how to do that. There have been days where I'm going through stuff and I still can get on here and you wouldn't know it. So if I can do it after being doing this for a year, I'm sure he can do it after doing it for decades. But he chose not to. He chose to play it up. He chose to go real hard. And he's media trained. You can't even control your voice. That's how detrimental Trump is. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Even if it is fake, the TDS has such a hold on him that he's like, I have to, this is like North Korea type stuff. I have to start crying on national television to show people how important this is. Just in case people don't get it. I'm going to cry. I'm going to play it up right now. I'm going to make sure I shed some tears. People are going to know it's so important that Donald Trump is not president anymore. Of course, this is back 2020. I'm going to show people that this is so important that this happened. Talking about his sister going to Walmart and what, some evil white person is going to run up and be like, George Floyd. Start pointing at their knee. Oh, you want some of this? Is that what's going to happen? Is that what white people are out there doing? I'm sure in his world, that's how it goes. But that's just how deep it goes with these guys. We're going over to Patrick Bet-David's podcast. This gentleman, what's his name? Shank? I'm going to be honest with you. When I don't really care for somebody, I don't try to pronounce their name properly. I know it's not something that you should do. It's just, I just kind of just don't care. But I've never really cared for this gentleman, but I do have to play what he's about to say because it is a perfect example of TDS. Let's get into it.
2 bankruptcies. It happens, brother. 6? He's never had a successful business. Trump Steaks, Trump Water, Trump casinos. You can't name a successful business. He bought an airplane company. He put gold seats in an economy airline and immediately went bankrupt. He's terrible at business. But look, if you say it's personal, well, number one, it isn't, because I'm giving you nuance on both sides, okay? But having said that, look, it got personal when he lost the election in 2020 and said, screw it, I'm going to try a coup. I'm going to do these fake electors scheme. I'm going to try to rob America of its democracy just so I can stay in power. Screw that guy. And if any of you are voting for that guy who's totally un-American, who betrayed this country, you're nuts, and he won't ever leave office. He's a wannabe dictator. He always praises dictators, whether it's Xi in China, whether it's Kim Jong-un in North Korea, Putin. He's always saying, oh, they get all the applause when they walk in. No one is allowed to disagree with them. And then freedom, my ass. He hates freedom. He wants to take away everyone's freedom so that all the power goes to him, okay? So no, Pat, look, you see,
it's so amazing that the host just starts laughing at him. It's so amazing. He wants to take, and the thing is, there's never, like, I wish somebody would do a breakdown. Like, this is what he's going to do. He's going to do this. He's going to pass this. And in that, he's going to be able to take the freedom. Like, if you were to come to me and say, how is the World Economic Forum infecting governments all around the world? I could tell you step by step how they do it. I could tell you how they go from world leaders and royalty types all the way down to state level governors. I could tell you how. I could show you the governors that are in line with it on both sides, on the right and the left. I can show you what they do and certain laws they pass to enact chaos. I can show you Agenda 2030 and show you how it lines up with everything that's happening in the media today. I can show you everything. But when somebody brings up Trump and they're bringing up this whole thing of he's going to take away freedom and he's a dictator, they have nothing to show. It's just straight up feeling. It's so crazy. And even in this clip, if I played it further, he's like, there's let me play it.
So I'm not laughing at you. It's entertaining what you're saying. And
it's 100% true.
I can see. Okay, so let me ask you a different question. Who do you trust more, him or Biden?
I don't trust either one of them. It's not about trust.
Fair. Okay, so who do you see more? If your choices are the two guys right now, are you going to sit this one out?
Oh, no way. I'm going to vote Biden because I want another election. I don't. Okay. If you put Trump back in charge, there's at least a 50% chance we're never going to have another election.
So let me ask you this.
At least 50%. That's what I wanted to bring up. He's just throwing out numbers. There's at least a 50% chance. How? Based on what? Oh, well, he said a thing. There was a 5-second soundbite that I saw. And I'm mad. And the orange man's bad. And I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it did. Which means it's true. 100%. It's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Let's move on. Keith Olbermann. Olbermann? I'll say his name right. There it is. There, Keith. He goes on a Twitter rant. He slams the Supreme Court for their ruling of not taking Trump off the ballot. He thinks they should be dissolved. Someone should have told him, or maybe somebody did, or maybe he knows, in order to dissolve the Supreme Court, you'd have to kind of dissolve the Constitution. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Maybe he does realize that. Let's move on and actually show. Funny enough, the same guy that I just played, he woke up. Keith is so crazy with it that actually, you know what? Let me play Keith first, and then we'll get to this gentleman actually talking to us, because this is mind-blowing. Let's get into it.
On the Tuesday Countdown podcast, after 3 days filled with unbelievable verbal mistakes in speeches and elsewhere, it appears that Donald Trump is suffering from a disease called fluent aphasia, Wernicke's aphasia, in which they sound like sentences or answers to questions, but, and this is almost the literal clinical definition, they are in fact word salad. Wernicke's aphasia, fluent aphasia. He may also be suffering from another disease called anosognosia, in which you cannot realize nor accept the idea that you have an illness or injury.
Do you know how crazy it is to just make up somebody having diseases? Do you know how deranged you have to be like, I'm making it up. I don't care. I don't like him, and I'm just gonna say he says word salad. That's all. But it's like, but we have all this video of him just talking for an hours straight, just talking and making complete sense. Yeah, I know, but it's just like, I don't care. I'm just making stuff up here. And you have a channel. I hope he has 189,000 subscribers. I hope I pass him. I have to pass him. Oh my God, I have to surpass this guy. It's absolutely ridiculous that he has this many subscribers. He's just making things up. Like, I don't know. Was he supposed to be a journalist at some point? Now he's saying it like, and that's the thing. He's saying it like he's a journalist. He's saying it like he's some authority. He's saying it like he's reading it for fact. But it's just something he's making up. It's so crazy. Here, let's move on. Different clip.
On the Wednesday Countdown podcast, never mind Super Tuesday. Remember when the Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment really doesn't apply to Trump and he can't be disqualified from all the electoral ballots? Turns out, in doing it the way they did it, they may have provided a means by which Democrats, if they were to take the Senate and the House, and Trump were to be elected this fall, Democrats, next January, could object to the certification, pass one small bill, and render all of Trump's electoral college voters ineligible because he is ineligible. A post-election disqualification is now possible because the Supreme Court voted 9-0 to make it impossible. Isn't that special?
Is this what he wants? Is he actually talking about like, hey, hopefully democracy goes away? Hey, the other side can make democracy go away. Isn't that special? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But like, what do you expect? He's attacking a 23-year-old swimmer because she's standing up for women's rights. It's just mind-blowing. But that is so telling, that video right there. He's like, oh, well, you know what? You know, the people could vote him in. But here's what they could do after. They could just override what the people want. Isn't that something special? Hey, man, move to North Korea. What are you talking about? Anyways, let's get... Oh, I'm going to actually show you. So, Keith was going on this wild rant, and the Young Turks, who hate Trump, looked at him and said, this guy ain't right.
There is a man by the name of Keith Olbermann who, believe it or not, at one time was a renowned cable news host and now likes to embarrass himself on a regular basis on Twitter. So he posted, following the Supreme Court's unanimous decision, the Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, meaning Ketanji Brown Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the court has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. So there you have Keith Olbermann arguing that a major part of our system of checks and balances should absolutely be dissolved because they had a unanimous decision that he didn't like. Insanity.
Yeah, so I think he's lost his mind.
Totally.
So a couple of things here. Number one, can't they read? Well, wait a minute now. Constitutional law is very complicated. And I could personally attest to the word equal being very much in dispute. Even though it seems like a crystal clear word, it is one that has taken thousands and thousands of pages of Supreme Court decisions to adjudicate what the word equal means. So for Olbermann to do sophistry and be like, oh, they can't read, they should be dissolved, that's childish. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, his main case is you got to vote against Trump because the democracy is on the line. And now he's saying, let's dissolve one of the branches of our government. It's a totally indefensible, just moronic. And when you're attacking the liberal justices, look, if there was a money in politics case or other cases where they said something egregious, okay, and I have that conversation. But in this case, they were unanimous for a reason, because no one adjudicated Trump to be an insurrectionist other than random Democrats in 2 or 3 states. That's not how the process works. That's not how the process should work. But guys like Olbermann, who are blue MAGA, have lost their minds. That's why you call them blue MAGA, right?
Blue MAGA. That's a new one. I've never heard that before, especially since people on the left clearly don't like America to be great. I think it's something they've been against the whole time. They link it to racism and segregation and slavery. They like go all the way back. They're like, it was never great. So I don't understand that one, but I get what he's saying. But how is that? Keith is so far gone that a guy who was like, Trump is going to take all of our freedoms, was like, hold on a second. Whoa. Pump the brakes, buddy. I thought we hated Trump the same, but you just took it to a new level. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, going to a group of people who aren't displaying TDS. people who we thought would be displaying TDS, they're actually becoming very sensible. Listen to this. Look at that. People aren't playing around anymore, man. This guy's in a barbershop. He's the owner of that barbershop. And that's the thing about coming from, you know, like myself. Like, I was living below the poverty line for so long. But coming from lower class, you know, unless you're like really far gone in your morals and everything, you tend to have a lot of common sense. And that's what we're starting to see with a lot of the black community. The ones who are thinking clearly and they're voting and they're upstanding citizens are really just starting to look and go, I guess the policies really do matter. Because for so long, so many of us got taken in by the media, got taken in by everything they would say, taken in by what the Democratic Party would say. And then all of a sudden you kind of just feel it. Like the guy just said, you can't argue, you can't do mental gymnastics. The media can't work hard enough. When you're looking at eggs, they're $8, you have $80, and what you used to be able to buy with the $80, now you need $140 to buy the same thing. There's nothing that they can say. Once you start seeing that, you just start going, I don't know. Maybe I need the other guy back, because the other guy was keeping things down. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was saying to other world leaders. I don't know what kind of policies he was passing. But for some reason, things were a lot easier. For some reason, you know? And the thing is, people, black community, you know, for the most part, some are looking for it to be easier, but a lot of them are just looking for it to be fair. A lot of them are just looking, the guy brought it up, gas and eggs. Guy has simple demands. I just want the gas and eggs to be a good price. I don't want them to be free. I just want them to be within my means. Why is everything out of my means all of a sudden? There's been a guy who's been in office since 2020 and now everything's out of my means. I have no choice but to link it to him. Who else could it be causing all of this? Here's another clip. There you go. Grew up. That's the key thing. Grew up. Man. Well, and there you go. That's actually a couple. They're a couple, and they have a little bit of voting differences. Now they've lined up on Trump. And the lady brought it up. The lady, she said, it's just getting so expensive to survive. Again, I've brought it up before. The left is just endorsing chaos. They're fine with chaos. They demonize order. Things are more expensive. They say they say that they're the saviors of the black community, but then the black community just struggles when they're in power. What's the point of it? Why would you do it? See, at least with these people, it's starting to come around. That TDS, it's just lifting. Because you have no time to be like Robert De Niro and just say, it must not be. You have no time to do that when you're trying to buy eggs and you actually can't. And now it's like, I have to buy half as much gas, but I have to go to work these 4 days. I usually need this many. Okay, so maybe the eggs. Okay, so you know what? We'll just do salad in the morning instead. Yeah, we'll do that. And I don't really, I could fast, the fasting's always good. I could just fast in the morning and now I have enough gas. Once you have that mindset going through your head, that range of thought, you have no time for TDS. That's out the window. It's done. And then you start thinking clearly. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe. It's the end of the video. Share. It helps tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.